Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a true Draco deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that actually doesn't even use an extra deck. I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Dynamite Knight. This card is definitely a 3 of in the build, one of our main boss monsters, and all of your true Draco monsters actually share a common effect that to tribute summon this card face up, you can tribute a continuous spell or trap you control instead of a monster, which is a great effect to be able to use to just instantly tribute one of your spells or traps to summon this card out to your side of the field. Also, once per turn, during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control this tribute summon monster, you can take a true Draco or true King continuous trap from your deck and either activate it or add it to your hand, which is a great effect to help us get to our copy of Apocalypse or Return, which is amazing to get them on our side of the field using our copy of Dynamite Knight. We then play 3 copies of Ignis Heat. Ignis Heat is definitely a 3 of in the build as well, because this card is a really cool ability that once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control this tribute summon monster, quick effect, you can take one of your true Draco or true King continuous spells from your deck and either activate it or add it to your hand, which is a really cool effect to help you get to your copy of your Disciples or Heritage. We then also play 2 copies of Majesty Maiden. Majesty Maiden is really good as a 2 on the build, but you only need 2 copies of Majesty Maiden. This card is a great ability as well that once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, while you control this tribute summon monster quick effect, you can add a true Draco or true King monster from your deck to your hand, essentially letting you search either traps, spells, or monsters, which is a really cool ability. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Card of Demise. Since we're playing so few monsters in this deck, this card really helps out a lot to help us draw 3 cards, and we're not special summoning at all in this deck. So this card really helps us get more floodgates onto our side of the field so we can control the board, and it just really helps out overall in the build. We then play a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really good because we actually have some really spicy field spells that we use in this deck. And this card helps us get to our copy of Diagram, which is very important for this build. We then play a single copy of Set Rotation. Set Rotation is really important in the deck, so you really want to get to your copy of Draconic Diagram. So this card is basically a second copy of Terraforming for the deck, basically handing your opponent a field spell, and we get a field spell, helping us get our copy of Diagram and handing one of our other field spells to our opponent. We then play a single copy of Draconic Diagram. Diagram is one of the most important cards in the entire deck, because all true Draco and true King monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense, and the first time each tribute summon true Draco or true King monster would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed. Also, once per turn, you can actually destroy one other card that you control or in your hand, and if you do, add a true Draco or a true King card from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to be able to use this card as a searcher, also giving you that attack boost, which is just amazing. We then play a single copy of Chicken Game. Chicken Game is hilarious to be able to play in the deck. It helps us draw a card, and we can even use this card with Set Rotation to be able to hand this card to your opponent, which is absolutely crazy, and it's just really good to be able to play in the build. We then play a single copy of Necro Valley. Necro Valley is really good to be able to work with your copy of Set Rotation as well, so we can get Draconic Diagram, and we can hand our opponent a copy of Necro Valley, and Necro Valley is really important in the deck because it helps you lock down the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of True Draco's Heritage. Heritage is definitely a 3 of in the build and is such a powerful card, as during your main phase, you can actually draw cards equal to the number of True Draco and True King cards that are monster types, that are monster spells or traps, sent from the field to the graveyard this turn. And also, during your main phase, you can actually immediately effect results tribute summon one True Draco or True King monster face up. And if this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, you can target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it, which is an amazing ability. This card helps out a lot in the deck to help you basically draw more cards, give you an additional tribute summon, and also pop spells and traps. We then play 3 copies of Disciples. Disciples is really good as a 3-of in the build and just helps out a lot overall in this build, as it lets you target up to 3 True Draco or True King cards in your graveyard and shuffle in the deck and then draw a card, helping you recycle your resources, and it also gives you an additional tribute summon, which is amazing. This card also has the ability that if this card is sent from the spell or trap card zone to the graveyard, you can target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. We then play 3 copies of Time-Tearing Morganite. Time-Tearing Morganite is really important in this build to be able to use because this card lets us draw 2 instead of 1 during our normal draw phase and lets us conduct 2 normal summons instead of 1, which is amazing for this card to be able to do, just to give us additional normal summons in this deck so we can get more monsters out of our hand because we are playing Card of Demise, and this card is just amazing in the build to be able to use, especially for its last effect, that it just basically lets us use this card and that you can banish this card from the graveyard and then discard a Time-Tearing Morganite, and your opponent cannot activate monster effects when you normal summon this turn, which is an amazing ability to give us more protection for our True Draco monsters. We then also play 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Since we're not special summoning, this card is really good in the deck to help us basically excavate the top 3 and add one of them to our hand. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Rivalry of Warlords. Rivalry of Warlords is really good in the deck as a 1-of because each player can only control one type of monster, and we only play one type of monster in this build, so this card is absolutely broken. We play a single copy of There Can Be Only One. There Can Be Only One is really strong in this deck to be able to use because each player can only control one monster of each type, basically covering all our bases with Rivalry and There Can Be Only One. Usually we only control one monster anyways, to be able to just control the board with one of our True Draco monsters and be able to just summon out an additional one later on is very important for this deck to be able to just use floodgates. So this card is really important in the build to be able to use, and you don't really have to summon more than one True Draco to your side of the field at a time anyways, so this card is amazing in the deck because it hurts the opponent a lot more than it hurts us. Speaking of cards that hurt the opponent a lot more than us, we're also playing a single copy of Skill Drain because at the end of the day we're playing really big normal summons in this deck, and this card is really good to be able to play in the build to basically just lock down your opponent by just negating all the effects on the field of monsters, which is just amazing. We then play 2 copies of Power Sink Stone. Power Sink Stone is great in the deck. Since Skill Drain did go to 1 on the last list, this card is really good as a replacement, as each time a monster effect is activated, you place a Spell Stone counter on this card, maximum 2. And when this card has 2 Spell Stone counters, neither player can activate the effects of face-up monsters on the field, or also the effects of face-up monsters on the field are negated, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to use this card basically as a skill drain on the field, which is really cool, as we'll basically still get to activate our True Draco monsters until this card gets 2 counters on it, but at the end of the turn, you actually remove any Spellstone counters on it, basically resetting this card, which is amazing. We then play 3 copies of True King's Return. True King's Return is definitely a 3-of in the build and is an insane card. If this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, you can target a monster on the field and destroy it, which is a crazy powerful effect just to be able to pop a monster on the field. This card also has the ability you can target 1 True Draco or True King monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. Also, the rest of the turn, you can't special summon, which is not that big of a deal. And also, during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately effect resolves, tribute summon a True Draco or a True King monster face up. We then also play 3 copies of Apocalypse. Apocalypse is definitely a 3-of in the build as well, because this card has the ability, if this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, target a monster on the field and destroy it. But this card's unique effect is to let you target one of their face-up, a True King or True Draco card you control, destroy it, and if you do, the attack and defense of all face-up monsters that your opponent controls becomes half their current attack and defense, even if this card leaves the field, which is such an amazing ability to basically help us go in for game. Also, during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately effect results, tribute summon 1 True Draco or True King monster face up. We then also play 3 copies of the Monarch's Erupt. Monarch's Erupt is definitely a 3-of floodgate in this deck, because this card is absolutely insane. It's actually why we don't play an extra deck, because of how powerful this card actually is. You should activate this card if you have no cards in your extra deck and you control a tribute summon monster. negate the effects of all face-up monsters on the field, while their monsters are face-up on the field except tribute summon monsters, which is insane to be able to use to basically just use this card as another skill drain in the deck. Also, during your end phase, if you control no tribute summon monsters, send this card to the graveyard. This card is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck to be able to activate, because it just basically locks down your opponent. It's just such a powerful card to be able to use to basically just lock down your opponent. So that's it for the entire deck, guys. We don't play an X deck, and it's just such a fun deck to be able to play, to basically just lock down your opponent with all the different floodgates in this build and summon out your very large true Draco monsters to be able to go in for game. So that's gonna be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.